about the injury. It's not about the injury. It's about the recovery. It's about the recovery.
Hello, this is Tony Abbatangelo for the Paul Padda podcast, filling in for Paul, who's out of town working on a good case in Arizona. I have the pleasure of having Judge Atkin, the District Court Judge in Department 8, here in the studios today. So, Judge, it's nice for you to take time out of your day to be here.
Nice to see you again, Tony. It's been a while.
It has, and it's crazy times with COVID and no jury trials.
Oh, it breaks my heart. I love to have the juries in my courtroom, and this is preventing us from doing so, and it's really presenting a problem for those seeking justice, because without a trial, it's access to justice denied.
I agree 100%, and one of the great things about you being a judge is you've been in the trenches.
32 years.
And how many jury trials do you think you conducted or participated in?
I can well over 30 as lead counsel, complex civil litigation cases,
And
which has served me good.
Right.
My docket's all civil. It's what I do.
Right, and so you've been in multiple trials.
Yes.
You had a firm, you were a partner.
Yes.
And how many attorneys did you have?
Well, we started in 2004, formed my own firm. We started with 4 of us sitting on a floor in rented space and pencils and a pad of paper. And in 16 years, we grew that to 17 lawyers and 48 employees.
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
So you know what it's like to hustle and get out there and put your, as they say, the nose to the grindstone.
I'd like to think so, yes.
So what do you bring from that experience to the bench?
Well, I know what it is like for a practicing attorney who's there in front of me representing a client, the stress they encounter to try to do the job the best they can to deliver for their clients. That's what they're hired and that's what they're trained to do. And a lot of times it's out of their hands. It's in the hands of the judge or the jury. So I empathize with the stress and the pressures they're under, and I like to afford them some courtesies and time that maybe I wasn't always afforded.
Well, and I would say that also if you know that attorney is reputable, is working, you're saying you're gonna give them a break in a sense. You're gonna work with both sides to make sure that, because you know they're doing their jobs.
Not a break necessarily.
Yeah, I think
but
that's a bad term.
But not a break or any favoritism like that, but more, hey, if we can push a deadline out and not jeopardize anyone's rights or access or violate any rules, if they need more time, I'll give them more time, so at least we can have a full and fair trial on the merits as opposed to technicalities.
Well, and that is why you're the judge, and that's a better way to describe it. That's what I was trying to say. Well, that is why, like I said, it's a pleasure to appear in front of you, because you're polite, you're professional, and most importantly, you're intelligent and know the rules, and you know how the game works in the sense of filing the motions and what needs to be done.
Start to finish.
That's it. Now, I was also checking you out on the bio. I did not know you were third generation Nevadan.
I am third generation Las Vegan. My grandfather came here from Utah. They didn't have enough food on the table.
Right.
And him and his brother set out for greener pastures, so to speak, and they knew there was work at the dam. So they came to Boulder City, and my family's been here ever since.
Well, and that's going way back. My parents moved here in '61, so I like to say, I've been here a long time, but going back to the dam, that is the original pioneers. As far as there was a city or a town,
right.
Is the way I look at it. I get there were a few people here, but that's when Vegas really started to grow.
Absolutely. I mean, and even since when I was born, all the way back in 1962, I've seen it grow, exponentially.
And where'd you go to high school?
Went to Bonanza High School, all public schools.
See, and that's how, growing up here, you talk to people. Where'd you go to school? Everybody, because there was only, when I graduated, I'm a couple of years behind you, there's only 11 high schools in '83 when I graduated. Sounds like you would have graduated in '80.
1980, I can name off the schools: Laura Deering Elementary School, Booker Washington 6th grade, Cashman Junior High, Bonanza High School.
That's it. So you grew up, because Bonanza is still Oakey, Torrey Pines.
Yeah, it's up. Yeah, exactly.
So is that where'd you grow up at? What area?
Oh, when I was younger, before high school, I grew up down on the Boulder Highway.
So you were still way down there.
Yeah, I was on the east side, and then my parents moved, and we moved up on the west side, just above Rainbow.
And there was nothing out there.
Nothing.
Then.
Rainbow was a single-lane road each direction.
Because I tell people that in those early '80 days, Rainbow was like you said, a single lane, and that was the end of the town.
That was it.
There was nothing there. So you've seen a lot of growth.
I have.
And so the bar also has grown tremendously. Your bar number, well, because it wasn't sequential like in 1990, I believe, I'm 3,897. They're over 15,000 now. So we've seen tremendous growth in the bar. How would you describe the early days of the bar compared to today?
Much more collegial. You knew everybody. I knew you. And your word was your word, and you didn't have to put everything into writing in the form of stipulation. Now, it's so specialized, and you just can't know everyone. And I'm experiencing that now as a judge on the bench. There's folks in there I've never had the pleasure of meeting.
Well, and especially the civil bar, because they're not in court as often as the criminal bar.
No.
So yeah, you don't see these people that often.
No.
And you see these young bar numbers out there.
We call them HBNs, high bar numbers.
Oh, good. I'm going to start using that term.
When I started, there were no bar numbers. It was just Trevor Atkin.
Because that's what I was told, was that at the late '80s, the state bar decided to give you a chronological number.
Yes.
And what happened was, as soon as you paid, you get a bar number.
That's it.
So what's your bar number?
3133.
Oh, so you were a little late then.
Yeah.
My dad was 121, even though he wasn't the 121st lawyer. But I know my mom ran the office, so she was on his butt to go pay. Well, you've seen a lot of changes as well. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about, which I know from personal experience, is that you have a little unique approach to mental health of yourself as well as helping other bar members. Why don't you expand on that, please?
Sure. Well, any working person has stress. Any
Right.
profession. I don't want to pretend that attorneys are any different than everyone else.
Right.
But if you look at the statistics as to the alcoholism rate and the dependency issues, attorneys are up in the top 5, and I've seen some attorneys go through some tough times, and it's always stressed. You have to have a healthy release valve, a healthy way of stepping away from the practice as opposed to turning to drugs or to alcohol to unwind that stress.
Right, because as you mentioned earlier, you've got deadlines. You got clients you're responsible to. You got the other side fighting with you. Then you got to go home, and you got your family, and you're trying to raise kids and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of stress in a person's life.
It is. And not only that, you have the stress of, I want to do good for my client, but I also want to do good for my employees, because the better I perform for my client, the more business we have, the more I can give to my employees.
Right, and I tell people, when you get into graduate school, you generally have competitive people.
Oh, yeah, you're dealing with type A personalities.
Which is both of us, and you're competitive, and we're on the opposite sides, and we're both fighting for
the same piece of meat.
Right. So it's a tough world out there.
Right.
So what do you do to release your stress?
Well, through physical therapy, I had an injury, and then I stumbled into yoga, and at first I thought, hey, this is healthy. I like this. I'm stretching. I'm moving. And they always talked about the mental side of it and the breathing side of it, and it didn't click
not at first.
For a couple years. And then all of a sudden, I realized through slowing my breathing and going through my poses and letting my mind be blank and quiet, all of a sudden there's a calmness that comes over you. And I carried that into my practice. Because you're in that courtroom and there's objections and people are taking shots at you and you're under pressure. But if you just
Slow it down.
Slow it down, because you have the way we breathe. It's flight or fight. That's built into us.
Correct.
And the faster you're breathing, that's your fight. And it's calming. You're not going to say anything you regret. You learn how to hold your temper. And I like that, and it's really helped me on the bench, because sometimes the attorneys, they shoot back a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's a different world.
It's a different world, and you need to project. You're in control of your courtroom, and I don't want to snap at anyone, and I want to be fair to anyone, and I don't want to snap at a lawyer, because a jury may mistake that for I don't like their case. So I have to appear like a duck, very, very calm on the surface, but underneath my feet are paddling. Yeah, and yoga helps me do that, and I've been doing that for about 15 years.
And do you do the hot yoga or the regular yoga or both?
I do both.
Because my wife did let the secret out, drags me to hot yoga, and she said, "You know Judge Atkins," and this was a few years ago. I said, "I know of him, but I do more criminal work, and you do civil." And eventually we met, and that hot yoga, let alone regular yoga, it just is such a calming effect. And as I joke around about the breathing, and the old cliche is, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter.
Right. I'm using it right now.
Yeah, so when you're hot, you're sweating, you're doing these uncomfortable poses, it creates a mental health. And one thing I know that I've experienced in those classes is that they're like a lot of mental reinforcement. And I think it helps you grow as an individual.
Center, grounded, and you can take time to just collect your thoughts. What's important to you? What's important in life?
Everybody needs downtime is the way I look at it. We have so much going on, and with the internet and our phones in the car, we don't get a break like we used to get.
No, and you leave all that outside. You go and be quiet in your head, and again, think what's important and what's really important in life.
Because even going to the gym and riding a bike or lifting weights or a treadmill, there's still all that noise.
Yeah.
And the yoga room, it's nice and, as they say, namaste, right?
Yes. Namaste in here.
Yeah, I just say I'm namasteing out of here.
Yeah.
But I still get that over there as much as I can. So I think that when you bring that to the bench, especially with the way we see society taking shots at each other all the time, and you can lead, and I always tell people, each department, each district court, justice court, department, the old cliche of the fish stinks from the head down, because you're the leader, you're the judge.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're leading with a calming, intelligent, like you said, for your employees as well, when you're in the private sector, you create a great sense in the courtroom of how to behave and act. And you don't have people going a little nutty, I would say, in court. Would you say that has been your experience?
I learned, no one ever teaches this in college.
Right.
You just kind of learn it along the way. And I learned when I was running my law firm, you're the captain of the ship. The people are looking to you. Your employees are looking to you to steer the ship, to maintain calmness, and to project confidence. We've got this. It's handled. And I like to bring that over into my courtroom. I'm the captain of the ship. I'm responsible for everything that goes on. All my staff and the witnesses, the attorneys, the parties. And if I can project confidence, calmness, and civility, all of a sudden, that's what comes back. And that's the result of a nice, calm, safe courtroom where justice can be accomplished.
And that's how it's supposed to be, in my opinion. Because we both grew up here. We both grew up in the old school days where, as you said earlier, your word is your bond.
Yes.
So now it's not like that anymore. And like you said, everything's got to be in writing. And you see people, and I've watched it in court, criminal and civil court, where attorneys are taking personal shots at the opposing attorney, maybe the other party, staff, even as you said, the judge. And I think that's completely inappropriate behavior.
Oh, it is. It is. And I always, with my law clerks and with my young attorneys, and I was a mentor in the bar mentor program, I always said, play the long game. Don't play the short game. It may be expeditious at the time to take a shot or to do the cheap, easy thing, but play the long game with your name, because you'll have that forever. And so you can never go wrong doing the right thing. Play the long game, not the quick, easy thing to do.
Well, and I also tell people, too, that judges talk to each other.
Oh, they do. They know.
And now, even in the Regional Justice Center, there's only 4 judges on a floor. But you know these other attorneys, the other judges from private practice days and all that, that next thing you know, Judge Atkins was called a jerk by Tony Abbatangelo, and you go, I don't really know that guy. So you talk to the next judge, and they go, oh yeah, that's just how he is. When I come in next time, it's just human nature that this person is confrontational, this person is not prepared, and all that kind of stuff.
Protect your name, protect your reputation.
I agree with that 100%. I tell the young lawyers too, look, you never know who in 10 or 15 years is going to be a partner in a firm, who's going to be a judge. On the other side, like you mentioned earlier with the mental health, who might crash and burn and be disbarred. So be kind to everybody, be strong, don't just be caving in, and as you said, with confidence. And I think that's great words of wisdom.
Yeah,
that you've been giving.
Absolutely, and it's not just, hey, maybe down the road somebody could do something for me.
Well, no,
and I don't think you're implying that, but it's just do the right thing, and don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Exactly, and you knew my dad a little bit back in the day, and everybody thought he was nice, but I've had a ton of attorneys and judges go, the first trial I ever had, I lost against your dad.
Yeah.
Because he was kind and nice, and they're like, oh, he's not paying attention.
No.
But he knew it, just
Right.
like you, same thing. Just because you're a nice guy doesn't mean you have no idea what's going on.
No. I'd like to think I was a pretty tough advocate.
Well, and that's the rumor I heard. That's another reason why Judge Atkins in District Court 8 is a great judge. Because you knew when to cave in on a case. The facts weren't in your favor, and you knew when to fight. You had good practical experience, I presume, from everything I've heard.
Pick your battles.
That's right, pick your battles. Well, anything you want to wrap up with, Judge?
No, other than thanks for having me on. It's nice to see you, and say hello to Paul for me.
I will, and best of luck in your election. And that concludes this week's Paul Padda podcast here at Red Chim Studio. Thank you for your time, and thank you for watching.